Tonight on The ReidOut.
Now, with Roe gone, let's be very clear. The health and life of women in this nation are now at risk.
Millions of women in America will go to bed tonight without access to the health care and reproductive care that they had this morning.
Across the country, protests continue tonight after the extreme right justices on the Supreme Court strip away a half-century of abortion rights. And Justice Clarence Thomas is making it clear he wants other rights revoked as well. Jim Obergefell, the lead plaintiff in the landmark same-sex marriage case, joins me tonight. We begin tonight with a theme that by now may be familiar to viewers of this show. Repeal the 20th century. The notion that for many on the far right, the good old days start with 17 and 18, as in hundreds. The era when men were men and women were property. And that the 20th century, the American century, was literally the ruin of this country as a Christian nation. With the onset of workers' rights and the social safety net and income taxes and voting rights for women and black people and liberalized immigration and acceptance of LGBTQ people and dangerous cultural things like jazz, hip hop, rock and roll, and legalized contraception and abortion. Believe it or not, there are people and well-funded groups in this country who have dedicated their lives to repealing it all. But right now, I hate to say it, they're kind of winning. Conservative organizations like the Heritage Foundation have invested decades and many, many millions of dollars building a Supreme Court that could wipe out all the uncomfortable modernism and keep the right men firmly on top. And in 2016, they got a president in the very unchristian Donald Trump and a Senate leader in the very ruthless Mitch McConnell, who made it possible. Elections have consequences. And so, just one day after we learned how hard the former president pushed to corrupt the Justice Department to help him pull off a literal coup, his three justices, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and Barrett, joined Samuel Alito, an OG misogynist and insurrection hubby Clarence Thomas. Chief Justice Roberts pointedly told them, you're on your own with this whole striking down Roe thing. But since he has no power anymore, the 18th century crew made those investments and right-wing Christian fidelity to single-issue voting pay off big time by making 50 years of abortion rights for American women, poof, disappear. Mike Pence, the guy the MAGA insurrectionists wanted to hang, boasted that American abortion is now on the ash heap of history and that Republicans' next big act should be to jam through a national ban. And let's just be clear. What Alito, Thomas, and the Trump gang did today was not about some high-minded judicial philosophy. And their originalism is as sketchy as it is revelatory. Since in the 18th century, abortion was legal for white women in physical or mental distress up to the quickening, meaning actual movement in the womb. But it was illegal for enslaved women because it was a property crime. What these justices handed down today was purely about politics. They struck down abortion rights simply because they could. They had the numbers, and it's what they wanted. They are religious zealots, and this is what they want. It's why they lied about stare decisis and precedent to get past gullible senators like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski to get on the court in the first place. Women became second-class citizens today, full stop. And this court majority, they're not done. Clarence Thomas, in his concurring opinion, sent out a duck call to his fellow Christianists to send daddy cases that will allow him and his 5 fanatic wrecking crew friends to wipe out legal same-sex marriage and legal same-sex relations and even access to birth control. So buckle up, kids. They have only gotten started. Speaker Nancy Pelosi warned that the only viable option left for the majority of Americans who support the now defunct right of women to control our own bodies is to take out your vengeance at the polls.
This is deadly serious, but we are not going to let this pass. A woman's right to choose reproductive freedom is on the ballot in November. We cannot allow them to take charge so that they can institute their goal, which is to criminalize reproductive freedom.
Joining me now is Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota. And Senator, thank you so much for being here. And I've watched you on TV all day. And so I know how you're feeling about this and how a lot of women are feeling about it. But, the lady you just saw, I trust that lady to go ahead and get through a bill that could codify Roe versus Wade. She can handle that. Speaker Pelosi could do that. The problem is your body, where you work, the Senate. Let me read you just a little bit of what some of your colleagues have said today. Joe Manchin, I'm deeply disappointed the Supreme Court has voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. It's been long and left, nearly 50 years, yada, yada, yada. Voted for Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. Let's go to Susan Collins. She's always concerned. The Supreme Court has abandoned 50-year precedent at a time when the country is desperate for stability. The inconsidered action will further divide the country at a moment when, more than in modern times, we need a court to show both consistency and restraint, yada, yada, yada. Voted for Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. And then we have Lisa Murkowski, also supposedly pro-choice. Today, the Supreme Court went against 50 years of precedent in choosing to overturn Roe v. Wade in the wake of this ruling. It's up to Congress to respond. Legislation to accomplish abortion protections must be a priority. Okay, she voted for Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett. Two questions for you, Senator. Have any of those three people who are outraged today and somehow weirdly surprised that the people who literally are on the court for the purposes of overturning Roe did it, have they expressed to you a commitment, a firm commitment, that they will do whatever it takes to either get the 60 votes it would take to pass a codification of Roe or to adjust the filibuster to do so?
We haven't heard that from them. We do know that over the years they have voted on the side of choice. But here's the issue. This isn't a drill. You know that, Joy. This is the real thing. And when it's the real thing, I'd listen to what Speaker Pelosi just said. This is about November, because if you really want to guarantee women their rights, instead of having this patchwork where Minnesota women will have different rights than women in Texas, where you literally are on the verge of sending women to prison or doctors to prison over this, when states and governors on the Republican side are racing to their state capitals to take away women's rights so that my daughter will have less rights than I had or that her grandma had. What do? You go big time in November to win. And that means if we could take back 2 Senate seats, in addition to winning the ones where we're already ahead, Joy, then we're at the golden number of 52. Then we would have the numbers, in my mind, to get this done. But without that, I don't see this path right now, no matter how horrific this is. We just voted on the Women's Protection Act about a month ago, and it failed. And so I do see a path for the women of America. I do see a path for the women in these states where they've already, 13 states, trigger law already going into effect. A number of others that literally have bills. And you were so ahead of your time in this, Joy. This isn't just about the 1950s. This is about the 1850s. Alito literally cited 12th century law in the opinion. He literally talked about how the word abortion isn't in the Constitution. Well, you're not in the Constitution, Joy. Yep. Women aren't in the Constitution. The word she is not in the Constitution. Contraception is not in the Constitution. And instead of going with what justices tended to do in the past, which are narrow opinions, they went with a sweeping opinion. And then to add to that, you've got that roadmap put out there by Clarence Thomas, who literally took the invitation to say, guess what else we could do to you? We could get rid of your right to contraception. We could get rid of gay marriage. Right there in writing. So I don't know. People thought the leaked opinion that somehow it was going to be moderated. In my mind, this got worse.
Indeed. And the thing is, what's frustrating a little bit is that, I was telling the crew here that, I feel like I told like 100 different people in 2017, you're not voting to become Hillary Clinton's roommate. You know what I mean? You're voting to choose who's going to control the FBI, CIA, NSA, and pick the Supreme Court. Right? I mean, but there are a lot of people who were very casual about it. It is not the sexy answer to say voting is the answer. But can you, as somebody with the power of a United States senator, is there any other answer other than what you said? Sheldon Whitehouse said the same thing on this show. You need 52 senators as insurance against the ones who are not reliable on changing the filibuster. Is there any other answer besides give y'all 52 reliable Democrats?
I do think it is the answer. You do see the president and the vice president standing out there and saying, we'll make sure the Justice Department protects women's right to travel. That's really important. Some states have put forward laws that would impinge on that, and we'll do what we can to protect medication abortions. But let's just look at these states, what they are. There is, of course, the voters' key in Georgia with Raphael Warnock getting reelected, and in New Hampshire with Maggie Hassan, Nevada with Catherine Cortez Masto, and Arizona with Mark Kelly. Then let's expand the map. You've got to make sure we win in Colorado with Michael Bennet and Patty Murray in Washington State. Then let's expand the map. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Florida, Ohio, Missouri. All of these states are right there in the middle of this. And the majority of Americans, vast majority, 75% of Americans, Joy, of course, favor codifying Roe v. Wade. They favor Roe v. Wade. They want to see women's rights protected, and they don't want to go back to the 1850s.
Yeah.
They believe and trust a woman to make her own health care decisions instead of the government, instead of politicians, and instead of Ted Cruz.
Amen. Or Rand Paul. You want to really make Mitch McConnell unhappy? Take away Rand Paul and give him Charles Booker in Kentucky. You really want revenge. That's how you would make him really upset.
Kentucky. Thank you for bringing up.
Don't leave out Kentucky.
I thought I covered the map.
Yeah, you did.
Kentucky.
Leave Kentucky on that map too.
Thank you,
Amen.
Joe.
Anyone can win if you vote for him. Senator Amy Klobuchar. Thank you very much.